Got a stack of spare souls in my back row vault. You still got their names on them, still got their spark and fault. They look at me like family, not coins to burn away. I keep them in the light box, I don't hear what the prizes say. You call it a fair fight, I call it a cut. One more run for the trophies and you ask for too much. I don't wanna sacrifice, I don't wanna lose my sight. Chasing prizes, chasing highs, cheap thrills don't get to decide. I don't wanna sacrifice, I don't wanna watch them die. Keep my extra Illuvials, keep my hands off the knife. Every time the arena glows, it tries to pull me in. Flashy banners, crowd noise, and a grin that feels like sin. But I know what the cost is. When the chat goes up, a little less of what I love, for a little more of luck. You call it a fair fight, I call it a cut. One more run for the trophies and you ask for too much. I don't wanna sacrifice, I don't wanna lose my sight. Chasing prizes, I woke up to the refinery glow, feeling my hands still running low. Blueprints stacked on the bench again. Every will turn to fate. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. I keep on building. I keep on bending. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. Every hard day, every slow spend, I tell myself it's worth it in the end. Gather the fuel at the edge of town, drag it back when the sun goes down. Research lines on a cracked up screen, chasing what this whole thing means. I upgrade one, then I need two more. That's the kind of life I can't ignore. It's frustrating, yeah, I won't pretend, but I'm not leaving this halfway built. I'm tired, but I'm still here, counting every scrap I clear. If I keep my head on straight, maybe this will turn to fate. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. I keep on building. I keep on bending. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. Every hard day, every slow spend, I tell myself it's worth it in the end. Someday I'll stand at the gate and see what all this grind creates. Every small step, every small repair will look like a map when I get there. Worth it in the end. Ooh. Worth it in the end. I keep on building. I keep on bending. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. I've come too far to just give in, so I keep on going. I keep believing. Worth it in the end. Worth it in the end.
All right, hello, welcome everybody to This Week in Illuvium. We've got all of the news surrounding Illuvium and its universe of games coming at you in just a couple of moments here. We got a handful of things, of course. We're going to be going over a brief arena recap. What is the state of Illuvium Arena now that the latest patch has come on through? We'll briefly touch on the patch update. I know I kind of went into it in depth on Monday, but just in case this is your one day where you're checking out the news for Illuvium, we'll very briefly run through it. Then up after that, we'll be going over Illuvium Deathmatch. Did Deathmatch all of a sudden move the goalposts again, with the minimum amount of people actually being told about it? We'll go over that in just a moment's time as well. Of course, with the leaderboards, of course, we're going to have a reward snapshot happening in just about 4 hours time from now. Let's see who's in position to be scoring some rewards in the upcoming hours, and maybe if there's some room for a final push for a couple of people. Then, of course, we'll be going over the top sales, Illuvials, land. We'll go through them both. And then, right before we get into the Community Rescue and the Illuvium Arena House League prizing, I do also want to go over my population report. This is something I do once a month to basically showcase how many of each Illuvial species are actually out there in regards to how many are listed, not the total supply. So we'll be going over all of that and more on today's episode of This Week in Illuvium. And of course, while this is a news-based show and I am kind of giving my opinions on the situation, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be chatting with y'all. Got everybody in the bottom left-hand corner. Good to see everybody. Jacob Oda, Kirito Hype, good to see you. Hope you're both are having a great day. And let's get into our very first topic here for today. So, of course, it would have been, I believe, Monday or Tuesday that it ended up happening, but we did see a patch update come on through here for the Illuvium Arena. I'm going to briefly go over some of the big updates in just kind of very, very quickly in this one. The big change to Lynxes was that the original change that we had seen before in the previous balance patch, where every time a stage 3 Lynx used its Omega, it then gained a certain stat depending on what element it happened to have been. Well, before that was just for the Lynxes themselves, but still didn't necessarily move the needle on Lynx usage. Now we are going to be seeing that this is a team-wide buff that the Lynxes will be giving to their allies. So Earth getting physical resistance, Water getting energy regen, Fire Lynxes getting attack damage, and then Nature getting health regen is definitely very scary, but it's not been as crazy as I thought it would be, at least not as of yet. And then Air allies or Air Lynxes are going to get energy resistance. There were a couple of changes for the Tsunami Illuvial. Tsunami did end up getting hit in this patch, but again, it was more so due to, say, the Tsunami chip, and then whatever Illuvial that you would place that on being overpowered, not necessarily the fault of Axodon or Flood or Geyser. So we're going to be seeing a buff go their way. There are a bunch of weapon buffs coming on through here, because we had seen that there's maybe 2 or 3 weapons that were very good, say like Aqua Blaster, for example, where it felt like the Ranger actually made an impact. And the devs are trying their damnedest to make it so that every weapon feels that way, not necessarily just in terms of damage, but in terms of the value that it brings out. So a bunch of updates coming on through, including for the Flame Warden Staff, the Shadow Maul, the Ember Buckler, the Emberling Rod, the Quake Maulers, Sylphid Blade, and the Sprout Guard, and last but not least, the Ember Bastion. So a lot of weapons getting changes just in terms of raw stats, but a similar scenario is what we were seeing here with the weapon amplifiers, where some of those weapons that didn't necessarily get touched up here did get some sort of improvement down here. So weapons like the Arrow Edge, Earthgrass Scepter got an absolute ton of buffs into this one. Ember Bastion got a small buff. Growth Sword got a pretty decent damage buff. We see Lava Gauntlet getting multiple buffs to a bunch of their augments, try to make that a little bit better. Ripple Flail's other playstyle that doesn't normally get touched on, where it removes energy or burns energy. Gonna see the buff there. Sprout Guard's damage augment is going to be getting a buff, and then Tidal Shiv did also get an attack damage buff, even though that weapon was already one of those weapons that I'd consider at least decent. It's definitely moved up a bit. We'll probably touch on it in a little bit here. A couple of upgrades as well. The Aggressive Dimensional Ambush going to be getting a buff. Echo of the Fallen, Staggering Strike, where you're also lowering your attack speed to stun. That attack speed nerf has gone down, actually, so it's not going to affect you anywhere near as much as it did before. And then the Explosive Tempo, the explosion damage in particular, is going to be going down ever so slightly. And there's some also additional augment changes as well. The Disruptive Force Reactor, where you get the True Sight and then attack speed on assist, basically has all of its attack damage essentially removed from it. If you want True Sight, you are paying a premium, because for a Fury augment or a red augment, this thing doesn't give you squat in terms of damage, really. 5% is next to nothing. The Piercing Force Reactor, where the max health has pure damage, that goes down as well pretty considerably, to the point where I know, at least personally, I've stopped using it unless I know I'm going up against like a full nature team. The Phase Breaking Impact Reactor, it just has so much value thanks to that untargetability, and even with the low stats, still sees a lot of play, I would imagine. We're talking about synergies ever so slightly. Water getting a reduction across the board. Bulwark's getting a buff across the board. Colossus also getting a significant buff, but again, a very hard team composition to actually hit. Mystics got a buff after getting slammed a few patches ago, since it was very, very popular. But again, it's still a tough team to actually hit, so seeing a little buff, that doesn't worry me. Slayer getting a buff was rather interesting. We don't normally see Slayer, and we're going to see a pretty considerable buff, especially at the later stages. Predator is probably the big one that's at least onto my radar, because there is an increase on the execute threshold for Predator. When you drop down below a certain point, then your Predator Illuvials would be doing bonus damage. That threshold has gone up considerably, even though it says only 2%. Like, that's a lot of health. And With that, the empowered damage during those periods also went up rather considerably. And then this has been kind of crazy. It actually lets 4 Predator, when chips get in play, feel like a viable end gameplay, because normally you kind of think of Predator as maybe some sort of early gameplay, but there has been times where I've actually debated now getting Predator instead of Vanguard, which is kind of crazy to think about. Before, that was never the case. Then Behemoths had a slight nerf go their way. Tsunami, we expected the nerf, but it was at least just to its energy refund, so that, say, the Illuvials that aren't naturally Tsunami kind of get hit a little bit harder by this. And then Verdant also got a nerf across the board. When we think of Verdant, we're normally thinking of that big heal that the Verdant Illuvials themselves would get. The Verdant Puddle, like I was calling it for a while, that healing was always very negligible, and it's actually getting even worse now. But Verdant is still okay, but a little bit tough to use in my opinion. Of course, we go over this in much more detail on Monday's stream, and of course, if you do want to take a look at this as well, I'll make sure the link is in the description of this stream so that you can take a look at it yourself. Big Man JB, good to see you. Hope you're having a great day. Ripple Flail Energy Drain might be a play now. Absolutely. I haven't gotten the opportunity to test it out myself, but potentially could be a thing. The next topic I want to go over is in regards to Illuvium Deathmatch in a second. Actually, nope, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go back. Back to the arena recap. So, with the new patch coming on through, where does that put the meta in terms of team compositions that are doing well? Well, let's take a look at a source that I have not gone to in a little while, but I saw Linky posting it earlier, and we'll hop on over to it right here, right now. We're going to hop over to the Illuvial Vault for our stats this time by, and as it stands right now, there is genuinely a 100% top 3 hit rate for players that are playing Rogue Vanguard. Welcome back, Penguin. You're right back on top as to where we're used to seeing you. With a 75% win rate on this as well. This is absolutely running away with the game. It does look like we have the Granite Vanguard style actually coming on through instead of Verdant Vanguard, but you can see down in the 3rd place spot, Verdant Vanguard is right around the corner as well, still extremely viable. So as it stands right now, Rogues are back, but of course this is still very early in this patch. Could very well take a little bit to get there. So, but just do keep this in mind. Second on the docket, if you're not going for Rogues, it seems like Inferno Behemoth is still an extremely strong way to go. That, of course, is your fully evolved Seer and Jotun coming on through with the additional damage from the Inferno and the Fire Illuvials. You usually go for 6 Fire, get the Boomerang, that's your best option. Sure enough, that's going to be the case. The King from last patch, Steam Harbinger, is going to fall down, but still is in a pretty decent position, all things considered. A 50% win rate if you can manage to land this team. Of course, relying on Umber as your main carry with a heavy 8-water style. Enchanter making a bump up the list here now, labeled at number 5, where the Scoriox might be your damage, but you have so much utility in Spore where you're going to be able to actually reduce the amount of energy that your opponent is getting, making it so that their Omegas cost more, and then heal the Spore units at the exact same time. And it's a very disruptive build while also seeming like whittling them down a little bit with Wildfire and, of course, Enchanter. So a different build coming on through here. Good to see there. Let's see if there's any other standouts for the next one. Wildfire or Inferno Arcanite could absolutely come on back. It's still a tried and true style. Granite Harbinger with Invokers, potentially, if you can manage to land that Seaforest, could be a way to go. Berserkers are still nearby, and oddly enough, like Dust and Tempest seems to be the way that some people have been playing this. With a 45% win rate, not played anywhere near as often, but it's a clever little mix up on the Berserker style. Dust is going to be here once again, where we're going to be seeing Dust Enchanter, the tried and true heavy air side. And for the first time, I feel like I can say ever in my time covering Illuvium, shock. Dust Enchanter is going to be here once again, where we're going to be seeing Dust Enchanter, the tried and true heavy air side. And for the first time, I feel like I can say ever in my time covering Illuvium, shock. Dust Enchanter is going to be here once again, where we're going to be seeing Dust Enchanter, the tried and true heavy air side. And for the first time, I feel like I can say ever in my time covering Illuvium, shock. is actually in the top 10 as it stands right now. Do I need to clean my glasses? Am I seeing this right? Because that's actually kind of interesting. Or it's actually not even 4 shock. This is 3 shock Predator. That is a lot of damage. I like the idea. I am stealing this for later. It only has a 30% win rate compared to some of these other builds. But I like the idea. If we're rolling early for rogues anyway, maybe see if you can spin shock into it. That's actually a really cool idea. That'll round up the top 10, but how about our weapon usage for the last little bit here? Strike Boomerang still seems to be the most popular weapon as of this moment. Let me see, did I turn off the hovers? I did turn off the hovers. There we go. So the Strike Boomerang going to be coming on through here again, whether it's Inferno Behemoth or Inferno Arcanite, it's still very strong. Similar nature here to the Lava Gauntlet. Of course, you can go Inferno Arcanite with that. The Vine-Bound Cleaver, there's where one of the rogue go-tos. It's going to be coming on through. Emberling Rod did get a buff. Earthgrass Scepter, of course, got a massive set of buffs. There was 4 of them that went their way, and it seems to be getting picked up at least a little bit more often nowadays. And it's up there in terms of one of the weapons with the highest win rate. Quick Maulers for the Granite Vanguard style. The Galewind Bow. So Ethan, there's your bow. It's going to be right there in the 7th spot. Title Shiv, I honestly believe this one here is underplayed. You turn your Ranger basically into a carry if you go for that. And the Auto or the Omega always goes towards the lowest health Illuvial. Put that onto a Predator team and watch your Ranger pop off. It's kind of fun to use, not to be on the other side of, I'll tell you that much. Ember Buckler going to show up in 9th, and then rounding up the top 10, the king of last patch, Aqua Blaster, going to fall down all the way to 10th. Still solid, but seeing a little bit less success in the Illuvium Arena as of late. Your worst performing weapons, though, as of this moment, it seems like the buffs towards the Bulwarks are still having a hard time for at least a couple of these weapons. We're seeing the Ripple Flail, just an absolute fledgling down in the 19th spot. The Ember Bastion, buffs be damned, still going to be all the way down into 3% as of this moment. Where are the rest of my Bulwark weapons as of this moment, actually? Tempest Lance going to be on 13th. Am I missing any others? I think it'd just be Ember Buckler did just barely break into the top 10. So Bulwarks look like they still have a little bit of a ways to go. Yes, Colossus did get a buff, but again, a very hard composition to actually hit. So maybe not getting to see that anywhere near as often as maybe we should be. JB, I'm going to test out Nature Colossus tonight. If you're streaming, I'll be there. Love to absolutely see it. Of course, give JB a follow as well, or subscribe here on to YouTube, because they also stream gameplay essentially every couple of weeks, or multiple times a week. So go give them a shout out as well. Very heavy into the Colossus side of things and the water side of things, or Toxic. So if you like that kind of play style, make sure you go check them out as well. A couple other noteworthy strugglers as of this moment: the Grove Sword, the Flameborn Staff, and the Sylphid Blade all seem to be falling off a cliff here. So the traditional mud weapon here with the Sylphid Blade also going down. In terms of most used augments, of course, we can break this down a little bit. In regards to the legendary augments, it seems like the Omnispark seems to be leading the charge by a landslide. 44% win rate for those that get that augment. I have been sleeping on it personally, so I should absolutely be taking a better look at that. Phase Breaker, though, in terms of the regular augments, is still going to be king. Getting the additional targetability helps keep your carry alive, even if it's just for a split second. So it's still going to be completed very, very often. Nearly 38% of people end up going with this, and it still has a very significant win rate. The Radiating Impact Reactor going up to a 15% win rate, completed rather often. And then the Charge Force Reactor, Trinity Pulse Reactor, and Hyper Force, all offense in the top 5. But what about what's actually winning? Is there any sort of change here? We're seeing our offense, but we are seeing at least the Tesslating Omega Reactor come on through as well, where you're getting more energy. That's coming on through, and then we are seeing a few tank augments make its way into the top 5 in terms of win rate. Not used anywhere near as often, but still finding some success. just beefing up the front line seems to be giving some people some good success. Last but not least, we're going to quickly take a look at some of the augments. Hunter's Precision continues to be the most, not the most completed. Or is it the most completed? It's most completed and the highest win rate. You hit Hunter's Precision, you're sitting pretty. Getting the additional attack range plus True Sight leaves a slot open on your Illuvial augments, so that you can have maybe something a little bit more offensive, knowing that you don't have to worry about True Sight. You can absolutely just get the suit and be completely set. A Hypnotic Shot, where you do the bunch damage every time your ranger uses its Omega, is actually going to be second. Explosive Tempo got the nerf, but it's still going to be making its way into the third place spot. Staggering Strike getting more use now that the attack speed reduction went from 40% to 30%. And last but not least, the Evasive Momentum, where you're getting dodge chance every second or so. Going to be the best one there. Weapon amplifiers, it's a little bit all over the place, so it's hard to kind of tell where to go. So I'm going to hop over to the last one here with the drone augments. Nature Transfusion 3 seems to have the highest win rate as of right now, but granted, it does not have very much usage as it stands here right now, where you're getting 1% of your max health as Omega Power. We know that Veteran's Might is pretty strong, and it seems to still be up there. Even Veteran's Might 1, which is a minuscule 8% for both attack damage and resistances nowadays, is still going to get you a 37% win rate if you land it. Solid Start 3, where you get a bunch of invulnerability right off the rip. I think it's either 2 or 3 seconds at this point now, is absolutely incredible, and it's going to be up there. Defensive Upgrade 3, where you're getting resistance over time, going to be the 4th. And then Omega Overflow, where you're just getting a raw bit of Omega Power, seems to be the next one with a 32% win rate. I'm curious as to what the worst augments could potentially be, but we're not going to be able to see it as this moment. But again, big thank you to Illuvial for being able to get us all of that data, get the breakdown here in the Illuvium Arena. It's been a little while here, but I'm happy to be back here on the Illuvial. Thank you, Linky, for making the website. All right, next up. Now we can hop into the Deathmatch side of things. So, I've been very vocal about Deathmatch having one issue in particular, and it has absolutely nothing to do with gameplay. The game gets so many changes, but yet I've never received an announcement ever about there being patch notes, balance updates, or anything along those lines, even though these changes are happening. And it's kind of putting everybody into an awkward spot because people are getting caught with their pants down, especially when big system changes come on through. A little bit of a lag spike on my end there, so apologies, but we should still be living. Alright, let's hop over to the Discord here. So an upcoming Deathmatch update from Nil himself. So with the economy and entry fees, if you use a Hollow or Dark Hollow, the fee for that goes up by 10 and 20% respectively. Advanced mode did get a handful of changes where the actual base entry fee does go down. The survival chance has also been updated a little bit. I believe the intention behind this change was to make it so that if you're going into advanced mode, paying the bigger prize pool, or not the prize pool, but the entry fee, you would then have a game mode that is much more safe for your heavy hitters. Like we're seeing here, second and third place, you basically guarantee survival, especially if you're using the revival booster, which is just a couple bones. You can absolutely get your guy back essentially every single time. I think I'd argue if you have the revival booster on and you go play advanced, you guarantee never lose your Illuvial. I believe that is the case. In fact, the revival booster, as it stands, actually went down in cost. So yeah, it used to cost 50 bones for the revival booster. Now that's just 20. So that's 20 cents, at, so to speak, to make sure that your Illuvial never dies in advanced mode. And the jackpot booster also got a reduction in terms of how much that costs. Now, in regards to the jackpot itself, this is the one that caught me off guard. I kind of touched it a little bit last week, but with the jackpot rework, it is no longer being given out in bone, or not in bones. The jackpot is no longer coming out in skulls. It is now coming out in bones, which of course, again, for those kind of players that might be looking to just kind of casually hop on into Illuvium and like get lucky with the jackpot and then maybe withdraw it, that is no longer possible. With the jackpot being in bones, that is going to force the jackpot prizing to stay within the deathmatch ecosystem. There is no longer any sort of way to withdraw that. So those strictly coming in to extract, coming in on that play to earn side of things, well, this will absolutely dampen your efforts. There's also some improvements to the graveyard, but one of them you can argue. Like, this is a improvement, but at the same time, because this is a little bit odd, that I'll get into in just a second, this has had a lot of people torn, including myself. So before with the graveyard, you would go through and you would kill off one of every Illuvial. Once you get one of every Illuvial in a certain tier, you would then get a set of points given to your graveyard account, which would then put you on a leaderboard, which would then give you like a slice of the or like a cut of entries or something along those lines for the week's worth of games. But they've updated the eligibility, so now even though you've completed your graveyard collection, players will become eligible for graveyard rewards after doing 10 standard games or 10 advanced games. This is weekly. So what people will see, well, let me get through this first. So once you get eligibility, you're going to be guaranteed getting $2.50 worth of bones, so 2.5 packs basically, or 2 packs and a revival booster, and then a little bit more alongside their normal graveyard share. So on one hand, like, it seems like a decent change. Like, you want people to be actively playing the game to get rewards. But here's my problem with all this. It's a totally fine change. But where did I have to go to find this? I'm not in the announcement section. I'm in the Deathmatch Discord, buried under so much other stuff that I actually missed it. And as somebody who is actively following Illuvium very, very closely, if I missed it, then the average user would 100% miss it. And it's gotten to the point where then players who had gotten into the deathmatch ecosystem or into the game and have killed off their graveyard, they went and spent the money to kill off and make up their graveyard, if not multiple times over, because the entire intention behind graveyard, at least off the start, was that you can kill off all of your guys, and then if you're on top of the leaderboard, then you can sit until somebody threatens your spot. Obviously, you keep playing to keep your spot and go higher and higher and higher. However, a major change like this, where there is now a 10-game requirement to keep your leaderboard spot, went under the radar for many players, to the point where people will then log in the deathmatch a week of and say, hey, I didn't get my reward. What gives? And then all of a sudden afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, there was a change. Where is the change? It's not an announcement. There was no ping. Nobody had any way to know that this was happening unless two things happened. Either they had logged on to Illuvium or Deathmatch and specifically went over to the graveyard to all of a sudden see a new eligibility requirement menu, which is unlikely, or get lucky and happen to look at the Illuvium Deathmatch Discord as that message was rather recent. So what ends up happening, that message gets buried. Nobody knew that it was going on, and like I said to Nil, I specifically tagged them, and I mean this again with all due respect, but if Illuvium is making changes for Deathmatch, posting it in announcements shows that the game's still alive. It gets some attention to it, and maybe people will take a look at it just because there was an update. But two, if these major updates are happening that have core fundamental shifts to the systems that people are paying money for, every one of these systems that go under the radar, that nobody notices until it bites you, regardless of if it's a good change. Because again, I agree that there should probably be playing requirements for playing the game. But for it to go completely under the radar, it sounds scammy. It sounds ruggy. And those are two words I do not like saying, especially in a Web3 space, because we see it way too damn often. And I've said this before, I said this during the auto drone run situation, that it feels very rug pull-esque, and Illuvium should be better than that by now. I understand that Deathmatch is ever evolving. It's evolving pretty quickly in that, and I do enjoy that is the case. I understand that maybe you don't want to spam the announcements channel, but there should still be patch notes in the announcement section. 100%. Because again, makes the game feel alive, and then there's transparency. What the hell happened to Illuvium after 2026, where it went from transparency being the absolute blessing in the entire Web3 gaming community to the point where I have to pull fucking teeth to get patch notes for a game? What happened? It's just a communication issue. Again, no issue with the game. Again, Deathmatch isn't my cup of tea. I'll be completely honest with you about that. Like, I'm there similar to a lot of the free mode users, where if I happen to have extra Illuvials, I then try to recycle them through the free mode, see if I can get a pack. That is the extent of my enjoyment of Illuvium Deathmatch. But there's an audience for it, and I get that. But even when the audience for it is getting upset because even they, as diehard Deathmatch players, don't see big system changes come through, then what are we doing? But Dual Ex-Billionaire, good to see you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Normally 5% of the entry skulls would go to the skull jackpot, but now it's this 5% is added in the placement rewards. Plus you get a bones jackpot. So in theory, making it so you're getting more bones each round. So okay, again, no problem with the system itself. It's why the hell wasn't this announced? That's my biggest gripe about Deathmatch as a whole, and then Illuvium as a whole as of late. Arena's gotten better, but the rest of the universe needs to step up here a little bit. Alright, let's take a look at some Deathmatch statistics here. Let's hop on over to the Ratty data and see what the graveyard's been cooking. So in terms of burns, we are now almost at 600,000 total kills here since Death March. That's a Billy Talent song, I think. But since Deathmatch came into fruition here, we're going to see, again, almost 600,000. In terms of unique players, this has been a bit of a nosedive, it looks like, over the last couple of days, to the point where I believe it is at the lowest point it's been in since release. So it's a little bit troublesome to see. About 35 players active in the last 24 hours. In terms of mode activity, this was one thing I was going to bring up. It looks like even free mode. I was giving free mode props that there is usually 2, maybe 3 lobbies going at once. It seemed very active, but we are seeing an absolute collapse over the last week here. For multiple times this week, it's been at essentially a monthly low. So free mode starting to slow down. We'll take a look at standard and advanced in a little bit. Those matches have always been so low that I can't even read this damn graph, but we'll see what ends up happening. In regards to our supply, we are basically, I think we might have actually surpassed a quarter of the Illuvials ever minted. We've killed off a quarter of them. So if Deathmatch was good for one thing, it was killing off the supply, and that it is doing in droves. Over 23,000 deaths over the last 7 days. Wolverine, good to see you. I hope you're having a great day. I have not done the top sales yet. That'll be in 2 topics here. But right there. In terms of the most boned lines, There's a different website for that. In terms of the most burned lines, we do see the Lynx is actually getting a break here this week, and it's going to be instead coming on through with a bunch of the tier 1s. My poor Snails, my poor Tatofi, seems to be the most killed off Illuvial, but not by much. The Rota going to be short to follow alongside Rai, Caribou, Tiru, Archie, the Lesser Monkier, and the Chuko. Now this all makes sense given that those are the most common Illuvials outside of tier 0s that you could find here in the most burned lines section. So tier 1s leading the charge in terms of kills. We'll go over the entire population report a little bit later after our top sales of the week, because not just supply, I want to see in terms of listed, how much of these Illuvials did we put into a endangered position because of Deathmatch? We'll see. All right, next up. I will be surprised. Sounds good. I just hope it's still alive. We'll see. We'll see. Next up, of course, we are right around the corner from there being the next rewards snapshot. So everybody chasing the arena leaderboards, the Illuvium 0 leaderboards, and then we'll take a look at Deathmatch's top performers over the last 7 days. We'll take a look at that right here, right now. Let's start off with Illuvium 0, where everybody's fighting for their share of 0.02 Ethereum. We see, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Teresa is right back on top at 240,000 points. My goodness. Yabiza are going to be up there as well alongside Sergio, YTC. Pew 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 going to be in 4th alongside the Diligent Fleesh. Wink's going to be moving on up into the 6th place spot. Crispy Vector into 7th. Agent J 8th. Bora 9th. And then Jub Jub will round up our top 10 in regards to the players that have burned the most fuel for their Illuvium 0 plots. Again, to get a piece of that 0.02 Ethereum. In regards to the arena, let's take a look and see who's leading the charge. Is it Badul this time? Not this time. Bart is right back on top with their absolutely absurd amount of games played, considering this leaderboard has only been up for a week. I don't know how the hell both Bart and 21 Knight managed to do this, but hundreds and some odd games over just a week's time. Absolutely crazy. No shot to Badul, though. They're still right there in the 3rd place position. You have Thanatos going to be in 4th. Hector from Mad Dog's going to be 5th. And Toshino going to be 6th. Androa 7th. Dragnyen up to 8th. Torux down but in the 9th spot. And then Surfer Dude going to round up our top 10. Got no Kacho, Kirito, Wolverine, Weak Jotun, the Leveling Bot, Akabono, Cyphet, Blazin, Red Jack, and Kira, who's, I believe, a newer face to the arena, to round up our top 20 here as well. They basically just live in arena. Yep, that's what it definitely feels like. In terms of Illuvium Beyond, again, there's not necessarily any sort of big set going on right now, so changes tend to be minimal. But let's take a look one more time anyway and see where we're at for this one. It's going to be Alexa continuing to lead the charge by a long shot over Final Boss, Leader Acola, Hector from Mad Dogs, Jub Jub, Samsara, Hyper Hunter, Bondaddy Ratty, Stevo, and McSign. No movement in the top 20. There is a little bit of movement once we get past the 20s, where we're seeing Caitlyn Jenner, Mortis, House Toy Barn, and a few others make the move on up. Did somebody just have an absolute massive crushing day? Because there is a lot of movement. I guess from 30 on back, lots of movement in that regards. But in terms of the top players here for Illuvium Beyond, still going to be the same top 10, still holding strong here for Illuvium Beyond. Next on the dock, it's going to be our top sales of the week. We're going to go over the Illuvials alongside the Illuvium 0 land. Nope. I did it again. We're not done with leaderboards just yet. Hang on. It would have been the 2nd week in a row that I would have done this. Let's quickly hop on over to Deathmatch to, of course, give everybody playing this their dues. All right, in terms of the free mode, where the most bones won, Hector from Mad Dogs leading the charge with almost like 287 bucks worth of bones won. Very, very nice. Ratty Data and Cyberset short to follow there. Aqua Squawk and Mothpuck or Monster going to be in the top 5 here as well. We've got BLS in 6th place, Tipsy staying strong in 7th, Jub Jub in 8th, 8 to the G in 9th, and Halagon going to be in 10th. Who's been killing off the most? Well, we can take a look right here. A to the G been burning up over 36,000 Illuvials, with Monster short to follow. Ratty Data, Hector, Cyberset, Jub Jub, Chassis, BLS, Halagon, and Squawk all going to be up there as well. But considering they're also winning so many bones, then I guess that makes sense a little bit. That's actually all time, though. I didn't check this week. My goodness. Slipping on the UI side of speaks. Let's take... Okay, so that makes a lot more sense, actually. Can you imagine getting 200 and something odd bones in 1 week? Let's try that again. Ratty Data actually is going to be the winner for the last 7 days, with about 19.5k bones there. Tipsy short to follow. Free mode enjoyer, appropriately named, going to be in 3rd. There's Hector in 4th. 8 to the G 5th. Nisile going to be in 6th. Jub Jub 7th. Clememo going to be in 8th. That's a new name to me. Good to see them up here. Aqua Squawk up to 9th, and Chassis going to be in 10th here. How about we switch over to the standard mode and see what's going on here over the last 7 days. Monster actually is going to be the leader here on the Skull side with 40 bucks won to their name. Sergio short to follow with 26. Communiac going to be there with 23 in 3rd place. There's Halagon again, going to be in 4th with about 22. 22 for Chassis here as well. 20 to Jub Jub. We got Ajax the Bull coming in with just under 20 bucks worth of winnings there, and the Skulls for the standard mode. Good to see the new face in the top 10 here. We've then got Hector from Mad Dogs, of course, going to be there in 8th place with 16 bucks won. Trinix going to be there in 9th with 14. And Free Mode Enjoyer hopping out of the free mode and still making it into the top 10. Last but not least, let's take a look at the advanced leaderboards here, where we're actually going to see the dev themselves. Nil is going to be taking charge here in terms of most skulls won. Nearly 30 bucks won there. Ajax the Bull getting involved here with this advanced mode as well. Short to follow, literally just like a buck behind. Wolverine 777 Hype making it onto the podium here with the 3rd place spot. We got Tipsy back and 4th, Hector 5th, Sergio 6th, Monster 7th, Money Shot 69 going to be making it through on the high roller mode or on the advanced mode here in 8th place. Free Mode Enjoyer again, going to be making the top 10 alongside Nisile. So there we go. We've got everybody coming on through. But one thing I do want to quickly touch on while we are here is just kind of going over the amount of matches that have been happening. I kind of touch on it every week, so I want to double check here. For the advanced mode, of course, there was a good lull for a long time where it felt like advanced modes would take weeks to actually find matches. But as of late, it's been a little bit better. There's at least 1 or 2 games a day. But it is still at least a little bit more active than where it was before. In terms of standard, every couple hours or so, there seems to be at least 1 or 2 games. It seems like standard mode has dried up pretty heavily, oddly enough. We used to see maybe 3 or 4 games every hour, at least in like peak North American hours. That is no longer the case. There are massive, like couple hour long gaps between matches, it seems, consistently now, which is a little bit of concern. I'm guessing that's probably incorrect here. I would highly doubt that we would go 9 days in between a standard match. But I mean, you never know. There we go. I didn't forget Deathmatch this time. Alright, leaderboard all set up. So now we can get into our top sales of the week. Again, whether it be Illuvials or whether it be some Illuvium Zero plots, we'll go over that. We're going to start off with the Illuvials right here, right now. Right back to the ratty data we go. Top 25 Illuvial sales 3 days ago. There is this Artes getting picked up 94 TPI for just over 16 bucks, going over to Prowler's second account. Congratulations, Prowler. We have a beautiful Dark Hollow Exalted Water Doka coming on through here for just over 17 bucks. This one's going over to the free mode enjoyer, which means this thing probably went to Deathmatch. I have some morbid curiosity to see if this thing's actually still with us. Let's see if it died or not. Oh no, it's still alive. There we go. Free mode enjoyer. Not going to kill it off, at least not just yet. Good to see. The Doka shall live. All right. We have this awesome Adorius. A very good Adorius, actually. Damn, for 20 bucks, nice pickup here for Mabsby. Considering I think they just got into the arena side of things, they came in at a great time finding that beautiful, beautiful elk. Congratulations. A 100 TPI. Perfect Tipo. At the lesser Tipo, we're going to see just under 24 bucks going over to Sota. Nice one to add to the collection there, Sota. Couple of Dark Hollows coming up next here for just under 24. We're going to see this Exalted Gorilla about 3 days ago going on over to Unknown. Yeah, looks like it's just Unknown. So, to whomever it shall be, congratulations on the Dark Hollow. We see Free Mode Enjoyer picking up another one, just over 24 this time, for this beautiful Dark Hollow Virtuous Lynx. A nearly perfect, basically perfect Kukaraf coming on through, purchased 1 day ago from Akibono. Beautiful, beautiful bird for just over 24. Congratulations. There are some really good ones for Arena right now at a low price. I'll definitely have to take a look. I'm not in a position to spend, but maybe we can see some impact on the marketplace over the next couple of days if that keeps up. Let's take a look at this next one, a competitive ready cling. It is essentially perfect in regards to TPI. 98 TPI already. Level 60. This thing is essentially maxed. It just has to go through the prestige levels, which at that point takes forever, but at least getting up to 60, that's the big one. For just over 24, Mr. Cat going to be picking up that one. Over this last couple of weeks, I can only imagine how tough it would be to actually play up against Mr. Cat. I constantly see them buying stuff in the Illuvidex. However, I never see them in game. The moment I do, I feel like I am going to be torn a new rear. But I mean, the day will come. Speaking of which, we have something just completely tearing through everybody. How about this Jotun? 52 is its level, 66 TPI, so it's a little bit on the lower side, but it's got a bunch of damage and tankiness as well. A very beautiful hollowed out Jotun here going on over to Jub. Congratulations there for just over 25 bucks. Just under 26, we have this competitive ready virtuous Floralinx. Hello, beautiful. It's just missing some resistances. Otherwise, this thing is perfect. For just under 26, Mr. Cat, oddly enough and appropriately enough, going to be picking up that one just about 6 days ago. We have this Caribou. This has to be the priciest Caribou I have ever seen. 100 TPI. It is perfect. Going for just about 32 bucks. That one went over to Sota. Congratulations once again, Sota. Heck, this Kukaraf, I'd almost argue, is competitively, beautiful. It has maxed out its defenses. It's just missing a little bit of Omega power, but at the same time, the Omega from the Kukaraf is just a stun, right? Yeah, it has some damage attached to it, but you can live without max power. I'd argue this is basically perfect, and it's Dark Hollow at that. Absolutely beautiful. For 32 bucks, that's going over to Ajax the Bull. Hopefully then that didn't go to Deathmatch, but we'll have to see. We got a beautiful Octius coming on through. It is almost perfect. It's just missing the 1 point on Omega power for 34 bucks, 87 TPI. That is going over to Prowler's second account. Jeez, Prowler, you're loaded on up. And very, very nice. Congratulations once again. That Kuka's in advance to Deathmatch. Well, at least I know it's probably not dying then, so that works out at least. We've got the Pangu. Death Pangu is here. 93 TPI for just over 34 bucks. This one's going over to Matter 1. They got a new ace. Oh, Lord, help us all. That is going to be a devastating rogue to have to go deal with. Congratulations, Matter 1. This Jotun coming on through here, level 42, 93 TPI, just missing a little bit of Omega power to bring it to the extra distance, but still a solid, extremely solid Jotun. That's going over to Matter 1 as well. Nicely done there, Matter 1. Congratulations. Wolverine with the update on that Kukarath. It is healthy and finished second just a few minutes ago. Okay, that is a trophy bird. Hopefully we treat that birdo with the respect it deserves. A Dark Hollow Relentless Floralinx coming on through here. 68 TPI. This might have gone to Deathmatch. Yeah, it probably went to Deathmatch. That's Free Mode Enjoyer picking that one up. Congratulations. Hope it did you well. This beautiful hollowed out Blotto, 92 TPI. It's just missing some attack damage, but it's a tank. It's got the stuff that it needs nonetheless. Antoshino, an absolute beautiful Blotto. Congratulations. Just under 40 bucks, we're going to see a very, very strong Riplance. Offensively beautiful, just missing a little bit of Omega power. For 91 TPI, just under 40 bucks, that is Matter 1, finding another very, very strong Illuvial. Congratulations, Matter 1. This Exalted Gorilla for just over 41. Dark Hollow, doesn't necessarily have that much stats, 51 TPI, but the thing is, it has Omega power, which means it can still nuke a target. That is going to be picked up by Unknown, apparently, so that one just under 41. Now, how about our top sales of the week? Do note, because we did This Week in Illuvium late last week, some of these might have carried over, so any of the ones you see with 6 days, we would have already covered, but we will still go on through and give prompts where it's due, starting off with this 99 nearly perfect Jokel for just over 43 bucks. This one's going over to HZ Shine. Congratulations on the new polar bear. A fighting fit, competitively ready to rock Stabbin coming on through, level 60, 94 TPI. It's just missing resistances. That is the only thing, and that's totally fine. For almost 50 bucks, this one is Mr. Katz. One of our top sales from last week. We have 3 of them in a row here, actually, where we're starting to see again some high TPI Illuvials coming for sale. 63 is its level, 100 is its TPI, and this thing went for over 130 bucks. That went over to No Cacho last week. Same thing here for No Cacho's Mammoth. We saw this last week. It's been leveled up all the way to 53. They've been putting some work onto it. Good to see. That one was almost 185 bucks for that one. Then the last one from last week, level 60, 100 TPI, competitively perfect. 187 going on over to No Cacho. But now the update. Is this the one that we're talking about here? We see a Phosphorus nearly level 60. A purchase from 3 days ago where this Phosphorus went for over $300. It's 91 TPI, and that was Prowler. Gladly adding that to their roster. Prowler week in, week out, going to continue to level up their squad. That is going to be a devastating bird. So note to self, maybe I should start contesting foes in the late game or something along those lines, because I don't think I want to be on the receiving end of that bird. Phosphorus amazing still, but you're missing the top sale. Oh, as I refresh. Oh, God. Damn. Okay. So apparently I needed to refresh my browser, biting myself in the rear a little bit because I prepped this a little bit ahead of time. Notice that one, I was already glazing Prowler for the 300. But this Ador that just showed up is going to take the place instead. It's only 36 TPI. Heck, its biggest stat is movement speed. But it's got Dark Hollow. It's a Dark Hollow tier 5, so of course it's going to be super, super rare. And with that, we are going to see a $407 sale going on over to who else? It's tier 5 stage 3 Hollow. They find themselves a Dark Hollow sale, adding it to their collection. And I can have trust knowing that this beautiful elk is probably still alive. This one's not going to see Deathmatch, I don't think. If it does, that's absolutely crazy. You do you, but a beautiful, beautiful Ador. Now, Wolverine, I hope that's the one you're talking about, because otherwise, I don't have it just yet. Next up is going to be the Illuvium Zero side of sales. Of course, Everyone knows my stance by now in regards to Illuvium Zero, but at the same time, I do want to reiterate, if you're looking to get into Illuvium Zero, there is absolutely Illuvium Zero purpose to actually be able to do so for the average player. You're basically purchasing a speculation piece as this moment, hoping that Illuvium actually does something with it. Because we have not seen an update for Illuvium Zero for over a year, and the only thing you can do is build up your city, stack up on fuel, and hope a feature comes around that you can actually play with. Unless you're burning fuel, but that's only actually worth it for those who have hundreds of tier 4, tier 3 plots or higher at this point here. So always with caution if you're getting into Illuvium Zero, there is not much for the average gamer to actually do, but I still want to give players their dues for coming into the Illuvium universe. So let's take a look and see our top sales for Illuvium Zero land. We have this spot here at Abyssal Basin, just over 23 bucks for this guy. That is going to be MJCE 85 going to be coming on through. They slowly but surely been loading up on a bunch of these low tier plots. You can see them pick up another. Taiga Boreal, it's going to be our tier 2 for 30. Tier 2 for 30. Oh geez, my goodness. Oh, how things have changed. But 32 bucks going on over to the endearing Valente. Congratulations. Another tier 1 coming on through in Abyssal Basin once again. We're going to see this one going for just about 30 bucks or 33 bucks. That's going to be the animated Scoriox, picking up that one. So a new face into the Illuvium Zero side of things. We got another tier 2, this time at Halcyon Sea for just about 85 bucks. That's going to be Bernoullion, going to be picking up that one. Our biggest sales, and we have some big ones at that. We're talking not just hundreds here, but thousands, because we actually have tier 4s being moved around the Illuvium universe here today. For this first one, Crimson Waste tier 4 for over $1,000, going over to the outgoing Singe. Congratulations on that rather beautiful plot. And then our biggest sale for Illuvium Zero that just happened 3 hours ago. Spot over at Crystal Shores, we're seeing for 1,147. This plot going over to Bernoullion. They're loaded up on lands at this point. Holy smokes, congratulations, Bernoullion, on the new land in Crystal Shores. Definitely hope that everybody, including myself at this point, can find a purpose and reason to get excited about Illuvium Zero sometime in the near future. Again, I definitely, I have a lot. I want the game to be great for everybody and not just whales. I mean, that's kind of my entire shtick across the entire Illuvium universe, right? But again, just right now, it's a chore. There's nothing to do currently in Illuvium Zero. I hope that changes soon. I know it's a support game. I know it needs Obelisk Rising to truly start to flourish and get some of these features that we've been thinking about. But there are some things, like, I don't know, training gyms that have been promised and teased for over a year now that we still have no idea where it is. We have Sanctum Mesa requests, whatever the hell that's supposed to be. We haven't heard about that in months. Would love to be able to have a better tone for Illuvium Zero, because I definitely understand for all the Zero diehards that have all these lands, they want something to do with them, but morale can be low. Would love to see that change sometime soon. All right, next up is going to be my monthly population reports. Now, this is in regards to Illuvials that I would consider, or not consider extinct. Let me explain how we do this, because we've seen other people do work very similarly. I think, in fact, Expillionaire, I think they're in the chat right now. They have a graphic of Illuvials based off of total supply, and that is fantastic, but I'm going to do this in an ever so slightly different way, because the way that I see it, if there's Illuvials in accounts, but those accounts are dead and inactive, then those Illuvials might as well be dead. So what I'm going to be doing instead is doing a chart for population increases and decreases based off of the amount that were listed a month ago and seeing how they are now. Was there any increases in regards to how many are listed? Because then you can actively go out and buy said Illuvial if they are listed, for example. And unlike last time, I do actually have the tier 0s included here. The only issue is I didn't necessarily label exactly which elements. That's my mistake there. We will fix that I will fix that rather next time by. But we'll roll with it for now. So we'll start off with the increases. What has been gaining over the last month or so? One little also caveat here with my chart is that if it says negative, it went up. It's just the way that I did the formula, so apologies if it's a little bit awkward to see. Of course, now that the tier 0s are actually included, we're going to see a couple of them end up getting gained, specifically with the Valentes to start things off. This is just for small population increases. So these ones moved at least a little bit towards the positive, but it's not too dramatic. The nodes Slash-In going up by 6, Geyser showing up a little bit more as alongside the fully evolved Mammoth. So a couple of the tier 3s, tier 4s going up, heck, even Octius still on the positive side of things. Titanors, Maluras all going up as well, very strong Illuvials. Seers, Sinolf, Rampfight, couple very, very strong ones. Couple of the Lynxes, the stage 3 Lynxes, we saw last month how they were falling off a cliff a little bit to the point where I'd argue they're endangered. Well, a few of those fully evolved Lynxes are showing up now on the Illuvidex. Not by much, but at least it's increasing instead of decreasing. Like, say, the Virtuous Zephyr Lynx, for example. There was only 30 of them on the Illuvidex last month. We're now up to 42. Goliaths with some big moves here as well. And then a couple of the Dokas, the Tipos. But the biggest one in this section here for the slightly moved would actually be the Gnarl. Jotun also short to follow. Now, how about some bigger swings? Some notable population increases this time by. Once again, we're going to see a bunch of the tier 0s. But how about this? Artes is going to be coming on through. While even though Inferno was very popular, I don't think the Artes is actually very popular in Deathmatch. So with that, we are going to see a pretty significant increase of 16 added listings. Umber, even though Umber were extremely popular for Arena, there's still many, many more being added. Scarabok with a big 18 to the plus. Vern moving on up. A couple of our tier 1s coming through, like Archos, Railu, Monarch as well, going all the way up to 22 additional ones. Kling, Mule, Ramphy even. Lots of big moves. Heck, even the Relentless Lynx and the Arcane Lynx, the middle stage evolutions, getting a big boost in terms of how many are available. Familiares, and then a couple tier 0s. And then the Fury is going to be the biggest mover into this side of things, but there's even more where that came from for the positive side. Large population increases this time by starting on up with the Greater Apon with 26 more additional listings. Virtuous Lynxes and Foes, the tier 5 baby form of that little terror bird, is going to be up there now, breaking 200 of them available, which is pretty high for tier 5. Tiru with a big move, and alongside Vermilia, the Stoic Lynx, heck, Lesser Valentes getting on up there. But lots of Caribous, even Nimble Lynxes getting some moves. But there's more where that came from. Very significant population increases for a couple of noteworthy Illuvials here. We see the Squiz, again another tier 5, not getting killed off, but rather big time increases. We're going to see more than 36 of them added, alongside the Ador, Verminio coming on through here as well. Rota to Topi, again, these are tier 1, so it makes sense that there's a little bit more of them, but maybe people are a little bit more inclined to sell a couple of these now. Blotto, who was having a massive decrease last month, makes a comeback this month. No longer to the point where I'd argue endangered, with 44 more being added into the Illuvidex. Ace with a big move, Krunk again with the Komodo Dragons making a move up. One of the lesser Flishes are going to be moving up from what was 73, which was pretty low, going into the hundreds now, so a little bit better. And then Alfie, another tier 5, moving on up almost 50 points here, or 50 additions to the Illuvidex. Now the top ones here this time by Let's take a look at, this would be like our top 8. So the Winx is going to see more than 50 additional Illuvials added to the Illuvidex. Tianti with over 51. Hetty with 52. Quinx is up there as well with 56. Gyro, one of the biggest of the tier 1s, going up there with the Archelion with 92. Then almost 100 Kukarafts being added into the Illuvidex. And then last but not least, even though it's a competitive staple, it is not necessarily a competitive staple in Deathmatch. And with that, the Lynxes are running abundant with over 684 Lynxes, the baby Lynxes, coming on through this August. So that's it for the ones that are having increases, like relatively significant increases. How about Illuvials that we've killed? For the smaller population decreases, we do see Slappin coming on through with 6 less of them. Stoic Flora Lynxes, they were already extremely hard to find. They actually dropped. They're going all the way down to 34, losing 6. The Exalted Doka, I checked this one. This was the Exalted Air Doka. Already very low with 28 of them, and they're going down to 22. The Virtuous Hydrolinx, again, another very low population count from last month. 39 drops to 32. The Flood, we're going to see our first tier 4 coming on through here in the list. We're going to be losing 8 of those. The Greater Atipo, can't remember exactly which one this one is, but one of the Greater Atipos going down to 37 total. We are also going to be losing one of our tier 5s here. Phoruses have dropped by almost 10. Riptoruses has dropped up to about 200. So still plenty of those, but still a relatively decent swing. Exalted Earth Dokas. I made sure to check this one. With 9 Dokas gone, we are now left with 20 of them in the Illuvidex. Oddly enough, again, the tier 0s, even though these were the free-to-play Illuvials that you could have got when Overworld was open, and tier 0s that are the more common Illuvials that you can pull out of packs nowadays. Auto drones or deathmatch packs, doesn't matter. Dokas are still very hard to find, and tier 0s in general, those bigger evolutions, still very hard to find. For the rest of our small population decreases, we do see Rip Lance, which is a pretty decent deathmatch fighter, going to fall down to almost 100 left in the Illuvidex, and then TB Ruko with 14. But that's it for small. How about some notable ones where we are going to see the Cardalox lose 21 of their Illuvial or of their listings, going all the way down to 200, so still okay, but pretty low for tier 1 standards. Oddly enough, the Lesser Monk here also got smacked pretty hard here too, with 17 going down. But that isn't the worst of it. We do also have a large population decrease where we've lost, killed off, or there's just no listings, but 30 of our Axodons have been taken off the Illuvidex from 197 from last month down to 167. That is a massive decrease, but it is not the biggest decrease of the month. And this one is kind of bad. Oddly enough, our little pupper dashes take the biggest hit of the month, where we are going to see 50 of them get removed from the Illuvidex, whether they were purchased and then never relisted, whether they were killed off in deathmatch or what. Dashes took the biggest hit in this month's population report. There, of course, are many other Illuvials outside of that. There's, of course, a big list of Illuvials that just kind of barely moved. I didn't really touch on to these ones too much, but if I did not really mention any of the Illuvials before, it means that they had maybe 5 or less population movement over the last month or so. So they basically stayed the same. But that is kind of crazy here. If I then take this list Let me see if it'll let me real quick. And hopefully I don't break everything in the process. Which Illuvials, if I line them up next to each other, have the lowest amount of Illuvidexes completely? Sort by... Oh. Oh, I broke it. 1 second. Almost got it. Okay. A little bit scrappy, but I'll show you what I'm looking at. So we saw the chart of movements, but let me show you what then every single Illuvial now has on the Illuvidex. Okay, sorting by this. So we're going to see a lot of our tier 0s actually with a very early hit. Like the fact that there is only 19 Exalted Air Valentes is kind of incredible. There's the Dokas, the Nature one, and the Earth one we were talking about. Okay, so it wasn't the Air Doka, it was the Earth, or the Nature one coming on through. But a lot of these Illuvials, like I'd say that they are absolutely endangered. They are potentially going to be extinct by the time Obelisk Rising comes out. At least if there's some sort of credit towards some of these Illuvials, at least the tier 0s, they do have the best potential for actually coming back and being like repopulated thanks to it being so common. But even still, like a lot of people see tier 0s and they're not necessarily willing to sell them because they don't think that they're of value. But when you see that there's so little of them, and the other thing too, this isn't listed by competitive versions of those Illuvials. This is just the amount of Illuvials total. So if I were then looking for competitive where I'd be generous and calling it, say, 75 TPI, there might be 1, 2, if not less. Outside the tier 0s, what are we looking at here? So Virtuous Lynxes are being absolutely slaughtered here. It looks like 26 of them here. Relentless Ember Lynx, Stoic Lynxes, so a lot of Lynxes coming on through. Outside of the tier 0s and outside of the Lynxes, the next lowest is actually going to be the Dualef. While it did see a small uptick this month, with it being a fully evolved tier 5, the likelihood of finding those are still very difficult. And now that there's only, or even with an increase, still only 33 available. Any other major standouts as of this moment? I'm seeing a lot of Lynxes. I'm seeing a lot of tier 0s. The next one up here would once again look like being a tier 5 with Titanor right around 57. And they did have an uptick this month. We do see a Dorius here as well with 63 of them. Hephaestus is 72. So everything else, once we're starting to kind of creep into the hundreds, at least I would say is careful, but at least it's not bad. But when you're starting to see some Illuvials 30 or less, that's really scary in my opinion. So it's something to keep in mind as you continue to look to either build your collection, or maybe you're looking to put something on the Illuvidex yourself. Keep this in mind, there are a handful of Illuvials that are actually stupid difficult to try and get, just for collector's purposes, let alone a competitive one. So I hope with this report that maybe we can fill up the population a little bit more. Speaking of filling up the population, let's take a look at our community rescue here, the Silence House Community Rescue. I have a lot, or I'm going to thank you guys big time, because we had an absolute incredible week after House League last week, because we had a handful of donations come on through that put some serious work into this this rescue, especially around the tier 5s, which is absolutely ridiculous. So big thank you to those that did donate to the community rescue. this is going to help supply the Caribou Cup and the Lynx League players that are trying to build their collection still. Help them fill some of the gaps. Like now we have so many foes. It's absolutely incredible. Still going to be missing the phosphorus, but that's a-okay. That'll come with time. I think this will be our current update in regards to inventory. In terms of things that I am kind of missing, we do have the Exalted Fire Doka. We only have the one copy currently at the rescue as of this moment. Then Phosphorus, like I said before, is the only one in the one. And then oddly enough, Greater Aerotypos have seemed to have been a popular thing that people were missing in Caribou Cup. So I'm looking for some of those. But of course, this is absolutely voluntary, and the idea behind this is so that we do have prizing for the community rescue prizing for House League, helping newcomers and Lynx League players build up their collection. And again, the secondary purpose of this, you saw me talking about the population report a second ago with endangered species. Personally, I want to hang on to at least two of them, two of each species. So if breeding ever becomes a thing in Illuvium, I know we had a whole talk about it on Monday's stream, how I'd love to see it implemented through Illuvium 0. But if need be, we could keep the species alive. That way, when somebody joins Illuvium in 2028, and there is potentially a set 2 going around, and you're having a hard time finding any of the original set Illuvials, that we can still keep that species alive and that it doesn't go extinct. So that is the point here of the community rescue. Here, good to see you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Last but not least here, what'll probably take up the most of our time here today, of course, is the House League recap and prizing. It was an absolutely incredible House League last week, where it was the first time we actually got to see the developers of Illuvium come in and play with us. It was an absolutely fantastic time, and oddly enough, Perry even won the Caribou Cup. A very strong back and forth fight there with Ballistics at the end. But Perry does take the win, but they did also give the heads up that the prizing that they would have received through the Illuvial packs would be donated. So where we're going to end up donating that is the packs that they would have gotten are already in the community rescue. Big thank you to Perry once again for joining us and for the donation towards the rescue. Ballistics, of course, getting second, Ethan third, Awake Darkness fourth, and Robert Tacho with the risky play styles once again going to get fit this time by. Then in the Lynx League, finally we can say that Blazin is a Lynx League winner. Very, very close many times, but they're going to get it this time. Followed up by Monster and then G Hamster Hype, who we haven't seen in a little while, but coming back and scoring a podium. Then for the second time here in Illuvium Arena House League, we did see Kirito Hype get the win in the Monarch Masters main event, followed up by Thanatos and Sota to round this one up. So we will be very quickly, in just a couple of moments' time, start opening some of these packs. And through these packs, I'll then send you your Illuvials tomorrow morning. Alright, let's start this out. With Perry's packs being donated, it means we'll start off immediately here with Ballistics, with the second place finish, of course, in the Caribou Cup. We have 2 packs of Illuvials coming your way. Not bones. There we go. I have no bones anyway. Alright. Good luck, Ballistics. Let's see if we can get an awesome Illuvial sent your way. Well, how about a middle stage tier 4? That Flood is an absolute monster. Can't necessarily go by stats, of course, but still a pretty solid one at that. A fully evolved tier 3 with the Blotto coming on through. A pretty nice Fern as well, 68 TPI onto that one. A pretty high Ace, almost 80 TPI here onto this Ace. Flura, not too shabby. 63. Riptor here as well. Any sort of standouts in our tier 0s? It doesn't necessarily look like it. But I'll tell you what, a Flood is a nice addition, and like Ethan just said here in chat as well, a nice ace, 100%, with that one nearly being 80%. And if those stats are correct, where it's actually offensively beautiful, that is a beautiful, beautiful little ace. Let's send these all off to the wallet. You're not going to let me scroll here, game. Doesn't look like it, but okay, we'll roll with it. Send. Of course, all of the community rescue prizing from House League as well will be given out afterwards. So once I send all the Illuvials tomorrow morning, I'll go through and see what's still missing, if you're still missing anything. Because I know there's a few players that are right on the verge of having a full collection. And we will, our community rescue won't be able to help you there. But at that point, that's a good problem. You've landed yourself a full collection. That's incredible. All right. Blazin', good to see you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Nope, you have not missed your prizes. We're going to be getting to that very, very shortly. All right, next on the docket with one pack going your way shall be Ethit. Make sure that the visual bug didn't happen. There we go. One pack of Illuvials. Good luck. Let's see what's coming your way here, Ethit. Well, we are going to have an absolutely beautiful Lynx. Nimble Hydra Lynx going to be coming on through. 73 TPI onto that beautiful one. Not a bad little Stoic Lynx there as well to help hold the line. Hopefully that maxed out HP is correct, because that'd be perfect. Pretty tanky Lynx as well. Axon, Fireflish, and the Fire Rogue duo there in the tier 1 side of things. So once again, I hope that that Lynx in particular can make an impact here for you, Ethit, because that is a pretty nice one, if I do say so myself. We see how rare those things are after that population report. So a nice Lynx like that, absolutely going to stand out. Congratulations. All right. All right, Robert Tacho and Awake Darkness 69. We will get your community rescue stuff happening again right after we begin the setting the Illuvials tomorrow. So just note, not going to be able to happen just yet, but I haven't forgotten about you. We'll absolutely get to your community rescue prizing, and I'll ping you on Discord once everything's sent. Probably going to do something similar to what I did last week, where I ping you, but then I give a small description of why I sent you the Illuvials that I sent you, kind of thing. All right, Blazin', you're waiting. Well, now is your time. For the first time, of course, winning the Lynx League, we have 7 Illuvials. That'd be a little bit of a ripoff now, wouldn't it? How about 7 packs? That's more like 56 Illuvials. I like that number a little bit better. Let's see what we can do here for you, Blazin'. Good luck and congratulations once again on the big win. And that's not a damn bad one in the slightest. A beautiful 70 TPI Seer is coming on through. That is a tier 4 fully evolved. Beautiful tank. Familiar, not a bad pickup here as well. Heck, even the little flare. At the very least, I can call this a nice one. And beautiful little flare, another tier 4. Exalted Air Doga coming on through here as well. How about to some of our lower tiers? Is there any sort of standouts here for you, Blazin'? Well, how about a Lynx? That's 82 TPI. A couple of Lynxes here in the 70s as well. Not too shabby. Greater Eratipo, nearly 75 TPI onto that thing even. Very, very nice. Okay, the Seer and his family. Was that the entire family? That was actually the entire family. That's actually kind of cool. I didn't even catch that. Good eye there, Ethit. Yeah, you got a Flare, Singe, and Seer. Completely going to complete the tier 4 line there. just in one set of packs. There we go. Gotta call out the 6-7 Greater Water Doka. Axe, if you're still here, there you go, buddy. We do have even our first holo of the day coming through here with this pack with this little red panda. 62 TPI onto that holo. That might be some of the more beautiful tier zeros I've ever seen. This is a Lesser Nature Flish with 88 TPI. A Lesser Nature Valente, 80 TPI onto that one. Maybe your early game can get a nice little spike thanks to those fellas. In terms of any other standouts, that seems to be it, but an absolutely remarkable set of packs here for Blazin for their very first victory once again. Congratulations. Oh no, that's irritating as all hell. I can't scroll. Is that just because I have a full screen? Oh no, you just literally can't scroll on this menu now. That's cool. Huh. I guess we're doing this in batches. Starters in there somewhere. There we go. Can't tell if this is visual glitch or not. But we'll just keep sending them off. I did just send those. Okay, we'll give it a second then. All right, Blazin. You're very welcome again. Congratulations on the win. Look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. See when we can get you number 2. Next up, shall be Monster. Mothpuck. For the second place after a fantastic back and forth battle there with Blazin, we have 5 packs on the way here for them. Can confirm everything did get sent out back to the wallet, so it shouldn't be any sort of mix-up. Let's load them up. 5 packs. 40 Illuvials. Good luck. Let's see what we get. Oh, hello, beautiful. 90 TPI Arcane Zephyr Links. Absolutely beautiful fully evolved links at that. That is incredible. Probably the prettiest I've ever seen. We even have a Mammoth coming on through. This is the middle stage evolution. Nice rare find there. Fully evolved Gnarl coming on through here as well. And then, heck, how about another Zephyr Links? This one, the fighter, though. Nice pickup there, the Relentless Zephyr Links. An 80 TPI Vermilia coming on through as well for a very strong fighter. Very nice Lura at the same time. Fully evolved Hollow. Granted, the TPI is only 24, but the Riley still hollowed out. Relatively not so common find. 80 TPI Lynx. Never going to complain about a high TPI Lynx. 6-7 Birdo coming on through as well. 2 lesser Fire Fleeches that are in the 80s. That's an interesting one to see that they're both side by side like that. Any other standouts for our lower tiers? Doesn't look like it, but hell, that Lynx, honestly, that plus the Mammoth essentially made the entire pack. And I'm not gonna lie, I am jealous. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous Arcane Zephyr Lynx. Congratulations, Monster. Four. Scoop up the rest of these. Yeah, that sounds okay. And whatever happened to make it so that I can't scroll on this page, if somebody could help us for the next time we do this House League, that'd be an absolute Butcher. We'll quickly refresh that in a second. Maybe it is just a matter of a refresh. Let me do that real quick. Maybe we'll get lucky. It's a monster. Your Illuvials have been opened. I will send that to you tomorrow morning. G Hamster. Doesn't play too often, but was able to pick up where they left off. Got themselves right back onto the podium here in the Lynx League. And we do have 3 packs coming on over for them in just a second. "24 challengers, 24 Illuvials on the way. Good luck." And it's something about these damn Pangolians, or whatever you want to call them, because we are going to see yet again Tier 4. This is the middle stage evolution. 83 TPI onto a beautiful Singe. And it's Fire Cohort right there beside them as well. The Furiox with the 65 TPI onto that one. Arcane Hydrolinks coming on through for another Lynx on board. But how about this Arcane Lynx, the middle stage evolution? 89 TPI onto that one. That's an incredible Arcane Lynx. We also have an incredible Exalted Nature Atipo. Fully evolved tier 0, 76 TPI onto that one. A very strong one at that. How about one of the more beautiful holos I've seen in a little bit? A 81 TPI TNT. Hopefully it is truly loaded up on Omega Power, because not only would that thing hit hard, it would be stylish. That's a beautiful one. Alright, that might unfortunately then be the worst twine I have ever seen. It is almost a Nundo. 4% TPI onto that thing. But a twine's a twine. Still okay having that one. Any other standouts into some of our lower tiers in terms of TPI? It does not look like it. Oddly enough, not that many tier 0s into this pack, I don't think. So, an overall fantastic little set here for G Hamster. Congratulations on all your Illuvials. I can't even check if that's my starter. I'm going to have to unclick it. There should be one more left. Don't forget the Holo Valente. Perfect. From one hype member to another. Next up, Kirito hype after the fantastic victory once again here in the Monarch Masters main event. Gonna be our biggest draw for the day. 11 packs come in the way of Kirito. So that's a beautiful thing about the House League system. Is of course it's going to naturally get tougher the higher you get on the divisions. But if you can perform in said divisions, then the absolute reward is way higher. And that's why we're seeing 11 packs, 88 Illuvials coming the way of Kirito hype. Good luck. Let's get you a banger. Let's see what we can score you here today. It is going to be the Lynxes leading the charge. Virtuous Floor Lynx in particular coming on through this time. The 85 TPI Relentless Lynx is a nice way to follow that up as well. What's better than one Virtuous Floor Lynx? How about a second one? We're going to see another one. A pretty decent Ebb actually coming on through. This little guy, 73 TPI. And hopefully that Omega Power is correct while also being rather tanky. A nice fella. Monarch shows up here as well. TPI a little bit low, but a Monarch is a Monarch. 6-7 Arcane Lynx. 80 TPI Heady. Not too bad, not too bad. 84 TPI Archos. That's a nice little standout here for you as well, Kirito. We unfortunately see probably one of the worst Lynxes I've seen in a long time here. Stoic Zephyr Lynx with 9 TPI on that one. But it's going to be counteracted by an 82 TPI Lynx. Or a Baby Lynx, rather. We do see our first holo of this set here. Little Riptor coming on through. 67 TPI Doka. Any outliers here and maybe some of our lower tiers? We do see the hollowed out Greater Water Doka coming on through here for you. Oh, we do have a couple standouts actually here in the lesser of the tier zeros. An absolute gorgeous Lesser Fire Doka, 85 TPI. A Lesser Water Grocko, 89 TPI. Those are two very, very big ones for some tier zeros. And not too shabby here on this hollowed out Lesser Eartha Tipo. 60 TPI onto that one, but it's at least stylish. That'll probably be it for the standouts, though. Everything else is essentially going to be fodder, I imagine, but still a couple of awesome ones in this pack. Congratulations here, Kirito. Look forward to sending these off to you tomorrow morning. You're very, very welcome. Thank you for participating. Congratulations once again on the win. One way or another, I'm sure these Illuvials will make an impact here for you. And that's my hope. Once you get the Illuvials, it's up to you what you do with them. I know some people, when they're higher up in terms of their collection, some of them probably just see the Illuvidex. Some of them see Deathmatch, see the pit, eventually get killed off. But for those that eventually get a long-term partner for Obelisk Rising, or an Illuvial for their arena team that gets a starting roster spot, that's what it's all about. Those are the stories that I love, but the adventure is yours to tell. So one way or another, like always, I hope they make an impact. I'll send back to you this time for giveaway. That is one thing that I will also recommend or bring up as well. If you want to also, if you have extras, or if anybody has extras of stuff that they're not going to use, the community rescue will 100% accept it. And then we can hand it down, so to speak, so that we know for sure it eventually goes onto the roster of a newcomer, for example. But again, completely optional. It's up to you. Okay, I think we're all caught up here now. Alright, Kirito loaded up and good to go. Next up, for a valiant effort in second place for 2 solid finishes here in a row, is going to be Thanatos. And breaking up the Hype Guild, getting a lockdown on the podium. We have 9 packs coming the way of Thanatos. Double check to make sure everybody got sent okay. Looks like all is good. 9 packs, lock and load. All right, Thanatos, good luck, have fun. I hope this can make an impact. Let's see what we get here for you. We do have the Fennec Foxes coming in all shapes and sizes. We do have the Quink's going to be the best pull here. Nearly 80 TPI onto that fella. 79 in this time by. The Gazatep going to be short to follow, a little low on TPI, but still that's a fully evolved Illuvial. Blood, similar situation. Going to be 46 TPI, but that is still a middle stage evolution of a tier 4. Riplance coming on through. That's a fully evolved tier 3 coming on through here for you. Arcane Hydro Lynx. That's going to be a fully evolved Lynx. We see the second Quinks in this pack here as well. 60 TPI onto this one. A set of Foxes here for you. How about this Artes? Verminio. Another Artes, actually. But okay, we find ourselves a holo, and it's of a dash. That's a pretty rare holo, if I do say so myself. Nice little find there for Thanatos. In terms of any other standouts for TPI. So far, it's looking a little bit low. Slapping, hollowed out, though. Very, very nice here for you. 86 TPI onto a Greater Water Doka. So that's not too bad. Nice little pull here for Thanatos. Any other standouts that I could find as of this moment? So far, does not necessarily look like it. 76 TPI onto a Lesser Earth Flish. We've got a Hollow Snail coming your way. It's Tofi going to be there. And it looks like in terms of standouts, that will be it. So TPI-wise, might not necessarily have been the biggest bang here for Thanatos, but still a lot of relatively hard-to-find Illuvials coming on through, with it being a couple of tier 3s with high evolutions, or even the Flood, and of course, if it being a tier 4. Yes, congratulations, no matter what, here, Thanatos. There's the snail. Almost there. And lastly, Valente. There we go. Last but not least shall be Sota Hype. Anytime Sota happens to be around, they seem to find their way onto the podium. So another solid finish here for Sota. Thanks to their efforts in the Monarch Masters main event, we do have 7 Illuvials, or not 7 Illuvials, 7 packs of Illuvials going their way in just a moment. Alright, the bug is all gone, all good. Our final pack here for today. Sota, at this point, I have to essentially give you a Dark Hollow Tier 5. I feel like to actually upgrade your team. But let's see what we can do here. The bar is set high. Are you going to somehow make Sota's team, or are you going to be deathmatch fodder? Let's see what we get. Well, we do at least get some pretty rare Illuvials. We do have a Geyser, a nice one. 69 TPI onto that Geyser. A beautiful pull. Hollowed out Kukaraf. Well, that one is probably going to be a deathmatch staple, if I say so myself. Kuka being surprisingly effective in deathmatch. A nice little Arctase as well. 77 TPI onto that one. We have yet another Kukaraf here, so 2 birds coming their way. 52 TPI onto that one. How about in terms of some decent TPI standouts? We're going to see the Greater Gorilla, 78 TPI onto that one. I'd go by the chart. It says it's just missing Omega Power, which wouldn't be bad as long as that's accurate. Exalted Water Guaco. Exalted Water Graco coming through here as well, so relatively rare to find tier 0. 74 TPI links. Hollowed out Greater Earth Graco. If we can find you any other standouts amongst the low tiers. It does look like I'm looking at a pile of bones for a lot of these, but nonetheless, Sota, I hope that they make an impact here for you. Especially the Geyser. I'm curious as to what you can do with that one. And again, I imagine that Kukaraf is probably going to run some standard lobbies. Oh, did I somehow send my starter? Oh, yep, there it is. Again, a little bit awkward because I can't scroll right now, but we're making do. Okay, there we go. Double check that everything's went through. Give it a briefest of seconds. I just want to make sure everybody made it to the wallet before I close out here for the day. There we go. Perfect. Sota's Illuvials have been opened. And then I'll get everything all sent out to everybody tomorrow morning. Whether it be the packed Illuvials that we did open just now, or the community rescue shortly after the fact. My goal tomorrow will be to do it before we get started with our Try Hard Thursday stream. And then, of course, for this week, Illuvium Arena House League's happening again. We will be doing it, of course, same time. But you may notice here on the prize sheet here in front of me, you notice the community rescue prizing seems to go a lot deeper now. So this week, and in last week, I'm going to do it as well. I just don't have it marked. But I have the results still, so I can absolutely still do it. But to prevent scenarios where a player hard focused knows exactly what kind of team they want. They say get that team, level specifically that team. So let's say the same, like 15 Illuvials or 20 Illuvials or something along those lines. And then that team becomes so powerful that it's too powerful for Caribou Cup. However, they're still trying to build their collection through Arena. They would end up playing in Lynx League, and then depending if they could contest it or not, it would be very, very tough. So what I am going to be doing, we're going to try this. It's going to be a little bit aggressive onto the inventory of the community rescue, but I want to start giving, or at least giving the option here for players to get community rescue prizing through Illuvium Arena House League. Not many points, like the big guns are still going to be saved though for those in the Caribou Cup. But if I see, say for example, like Matter 1 is one that kind of comes to my mind, where they have a really good water team, but then they might be missing even just like tier 1 fire Illuvials. This way I can help them still get those kind of Illuvials, help build their collection from some of the smaller stuff that they're missing because they hard focus one team. And I know even to some of our veterans, a lot of them straight up are still just missing tier 0s and Lynxes. So I want to give the option that if you're eligible, if you don't have a full dex, that you can still win prizes. And then maybe I'll throw in the special every once in a while here for Lynx Leagues and for Caribous as well, where we can get some higher tier Illuvials in there if need be. So that's the idea. Community rescue going to extend past the Caribou Cup. Granted, Caribou Cup gets the majority of it still for our newcomers. But if you are, again, missing Illuvials, you very well could still get some Illuvials coming your way through the Lynx League now. Registration, again, for House League is now live. You can absolutely click the link in the description of this video, and you'll be able to get sent right there. Do not wait until the last moment, because the last thing that I want to happen for you is for you to load on into the game and get ready for House League and then get stuck on the wait list. In fact, my goal here for this week's House League, we had a couple good weeks in a row. I want to see if we can make it the biggest one ever. Let's see if we can get 4 lobbies going for House League this time by. I would love to be able to say have 2 lobbies of Monarch Masters or 2 lobbies full of Lynx League. Heck, we can somehow get 2 lobbies full of Caribou. Screw it, we'll do it. I have the prizing to be able to do it. And I'd love to fill up yet another lobby if possible, but I need to know that prior to the day of, instead of as it's happening, for the sake of logistics. So we'll give it a shot. I'm going to keep pushing. Even if it doesn't end up working this week, I'll keep on pushing. I see Blaze and Wolverine are tied up, and that's A-okay. We're still going to be here. Week in, week out. Next week, we'll be here again. And whenever you're available, absolutely love to have you. I shall be closing things down here for today's stream, but it, of course, is not the end of streams here this week. Quickly hop on over here to the channel. Been a fantastic week so far, but we do have some try-hard Thursday arena pushing. Looking forward to that one, more of a serious game day. We did have a fun time yesterday, though, where it was arena ranked, but I could only use low tiers, but not Vanguard Rogue. That forced me to get a little bit creative, I'm not going to lie, but it was a really, very much so, a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a looser arena session tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday will be Illuvium Arena House League. Looking forward to seeing you all in action once again. More of a community game night, but of course there is still the potential for scoring those Illuvials like we saw here today as prizes. And again, big thank you to Illuvium themselves for providing the skulls necessary for the packs that we use for prizing here in Illuvium. And also a massive thank you to the community members that donate Illuvials into the Silence House Community Rescue so that we can continue to supply community rescue prizing to the Caribou Cup players, to the Lynx League players, and to newcomers to the Illuvium universe, because it can be tough to get into, but I still argue that as soon as you're actually involved and you're enjoying your time, Illuvium can be the most rewarding game out there. And I'm not talking about some pay-to-earn bullshit. I'm just talking about, like, fun. And there's still so much more ahead of us here. It's August. We should, in theory, have a playtest for Obelisk Rising coming around the corner sometime. I'm always hopeful that maybe there's something for Illuvium Zero sometime along the way. Get training gyms going. Let's open up the daycare. Get our Illuvials leveled up. And then, of course, there's also the tease in the arena dev chat that Illuvium is planning a smaller scale event or tournament kind of thing happening. I'm very eager to learn as to what happens. I have big hopes for August, and especially since December is coming quick. As much as there might be a little bit of a lull, as much as morale can sometimes take a hit here and there, no better time to push than now. So I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep trying my best here with the 5 days a week of Illuvium. I've got plenty of topics to talk about still. And heck, even discussions like what we did Monday. I thought, like, the theory crafting about how we would do breeding in Illuvium and in Illuvium Zero, and how we would build that system. I thought that was a pretty productive discussion. And I sent that over to Perry directly, and now we're having some good conversations. So I'm hopeful. Of course, nothing's guaranteed, and nobody on the Illuvium side owes me anything. Not in the slightest. But I'm thankful that they at least humor me and take the time out of their day to help me with these conversations and have these conversations. Whether it happens or not, we don't know what's in the cards. But we put a damn good argument up front. So that's all I could ask for. But once again, I shall be closing out. So big thank you again for everybody tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow for the Arena Try-Hard Day. And then, of course, Illuvium Arena House League happening shortly after on Friday. Still lots of fun this week. Again, look forward to seeing you there. And whether it's in the Deathmatch pit or in the arena, good luck on your matches. Good luck on your training. I'll catch you tomorrow.